not being afraid of things you should be afraid of.
Yeah, right.
Like, you will not be an old fighter pilot with that mentality.
My guest today, Michelle Mace Curran, is a former United States Air Force pilot. She flew combat missions in Afghanistan, becoming the second woman in history to serve as the lead solo pilot for the Thunderbirds. She's known for some of her crazy upside-down maneuvers. She's performed for millions of people all over the world. It's a fascinating life, very different than mine. That's why I wanted to talk to her.
If I'm bad at something, now there's a stereotype that female fighter pilots are bad at this thing. I'm a data point of 1.
In the way that ego distorts and denies reality, humility is also denying a reality.
I should be stoic. I should choose to not be annoyed by this, or I should choose, but it is difficult to execute.
If you're not nervous, you're probably not taking it seriously. But if you're too nervous, you're also not taking it seriously because you're caught up in your feelings about whatever the thing is.
There was zero reason for me to push it that far, but I was so worried about failing that was more important to me than my physical safety.
Did you always want to be a pilot?
No, not at all. I grew up in a rural part of Wisconsin, out in the country, farming town, not a military, not an aviation family, but I was a shy introvert who was like socially awkward, but also super adventurous and driven. And as I got into high school, my parents were like, so we do not have a college fund for you. Let's put those good grades to use.
Yeah.
Air Force ROTC rose to the top.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the world, wanted to do something exciting, seemed like a good fit. But at that time, I wanted to be an FBI agent.
Okay.
So I was like, cool, I will go on the Air Force's dime to college as a criminal justice major. I'll do 4 years in the Air Force to pay back that time. I'll get out and I'll apply to the FBI.
Yeah.
I'll be competitive with my military experience. So that's the grand plan, is like a 17-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
I go to college. Halfway through, we visit Tyndall Air Force Base down in Florida. And I'm standing, it's like in the Panhandle on the Gulf.
Yeah, yeah.
So beautiful area. But I had seen fighter jets maybe do a flyover before for like a national anthem, which I did think was cool.
Yes.
But now I'm standing on the ramp, like right there.
Yeah.
2 F-15s take off, full afterburner, to go to a training mission, and I am just awestruck. Like goosebumps. Yeah. Holy shit. Forget the FBI.
What do you think it was? The power or the grace of, like, what do you think hit you?
I think the like the sound that the jet makes on takeoff with an afterburner, when you are that close, it is like killed some of my hearing surely in that moment.
Of course.
But like goosebumps, just sheer excitement. I loved roller coasters growing up.
Okay.
And in my mind, that was the adult job that was like riding a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Turns out there's a little bit more to it than that. I learned later. But it was just this moment of sheer excitement, inspiration. And then I think what really mattered is the next year when they're like, hey, who here wants to compete to be a pilot?
Right.
I thought about that moment and I was like, throw my name in the hat.
Had you met a pilot before?
I think we had some career days in ROTC, but I was very intimidated by them as a cadet.
Were there many female pilots?
No, not. I had never met one. And, you know, even going into the Air Force and actually making it to be a fighter pilot, which is super competitive.
Sure.
At that time, when I went through that program around 2010, 2011, about 2% of fighter pilots were women.
Wow.
Yeah, not a lot of us.
So you see them take off and you're just like, that's me. That's what I want to do.
Yes, exactly. Young, dumb, not understanding how stacked against me the odds were.
Right.
Which I think
it's better not to know.
Good thing. Yeah. Yes, because I don't know if I would have gone after it had I known how hard it is.
So when you're seeing them, you're seeing the planes. Is your first thought like there's a person in there doing that? Like, do you think you were attracted to the idea of being the person that has that power, that control over that thing?
I always loved the idea of flying growing up. I didn't even take my first commercial flight till I was like late elementary school.
Okay.
And I just remember being so excited by the concept of it, but not really connecting the dots that it was something I could go do.
Yeah.
And I used to have dreams as a kid. This is just weird now, where I would have my superpower be flying. Right. Where I would like fly around my backyard, in my house, up the stairwell. And I think I just love this idea of pure flight where it's like you connected to the machine.
Yeah.
And in my mind, a fighter jet was like the only way to really do that. you think about a cargo aircraft and it's just not the same.
Sure. No, I was like that. Like, I mean, I loved books as a kid. Like, people ask, like, did you always want to be a writer? And I loved books and I read a ton. But the idea that there was a person making them, it occurred to me like embarrassingly late. Like, I mean, obviously you see the author on the back, but those weren't real people to me in any more than like actors or professional athletes were. Because like, it's not like those are your parents' friends, or it's not like you see those people walking around town. It's totally foreign and unattainable that like a regular person is doing that thing and that you could be that person.
100%. And not to get ahead in my story, but later in my career, one of the coolest things was to get to be that person for other people.
Yes. When they meet someone and they go, oh, this is a person.
A regular person.
Yeah. And they came from the town that I came from, or a state like mine. That's why representation is obviously so important across the board, is that it makes something that it's not, it just makes the impossible possible. It makes something that didn't even occur to people conceivable. Exactly.
And I get very much on a soapbox with the see it to be it thing when it gets written off as like little girls know they can be pilots. It's because they don't want to be pilots. I'm like, no, it literally doesn't occur to a lot of them.
Well, I think that I talked about this before. You know what a Nepo baby is? Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Like, I think obviously there's advantages, but I think the big advantage is that you just saw your parents do something that, again, most people don't even know where to start with.
Yep.
You're like, mom has an agent and she goes to work at a movie set. And so that becomes conceivable to you as a thing a person could do.
Exactly. And when you can put that beyond just like a poster.
Yes.
And you can talk to that person and you can see that they're a real person with normal mannerisms and they're relatable. And I think that's why I love talking about my, like, the fear I've had and the self-doubt and all of that, because I can just see how that connects the dots in such a more effective way.
Yes.
Because they're like, oh, wait, Mace is a person like me. She just worked really hard at this one thing.
Yeah.
Opens the world of possibilities.
Most people probably don't know that, like, the levels of competition that you have to go through to get to something like being a fighter pilot. Because there's like everyone that joins the military, there's everyone who's interested in flying.
Yep.
And then there's the people who are physically capable of doing it. And then it's this winnowing process that probably is, I mean, do you have any idea what the percentages are, like, of how many slots there are and how many people that want to do it?
I don't know the big numbers, but if you look at my pilot training class, it's just a little segment. Mind you, these are all people that are medically qualified.
Yeah.
They've already either commissioned through ROTC, the Air Force Academy. They've gotten their 4-year degree, gotten a pilot slot. Out of 25 people, we, halfway through, we get cut in half, kind of, and a small portion of us moves on to this track to set you up for a fighter or a bomber. There were 6 of us, I think, in my class, and we had 2 fighter aircraft available. So 2 people out of 25.
Yeah.
When I would say 3/4 of the class wanted to fly fighters, actually got them. And the fact that I was one of those 2 still blows my mind.
Well, like in the Navy, they have that expression, never give up the ship, right? And one of the things that hit me about, like, just how elite the sort of pilots are across the board is that they don't have any expression like that for the plane. Like, I remember someone told me once how they talk to pilots about ejecting if there's a problem. Mm-hmm. They're like, you're more valuable than the plane.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't just mean that like morally. It's like, no, the plane's worth $30 million, but an elite fighter pilot is worth way more than $30 million. It's just the idea that, like, how rare they are, and then the amount of training and the amount of trust and the clearances and all the things that go into being a fighter pilot. These are like multi-million dollar assets. Ultimately, that's how sort of rare and elite it is.
Yeah, and that's why we incur a 10-year commitment.
Yeah, right.
Like, you want to be a pilot? Okay, we are going to train you for 2 to 3 years. And at the end of that, now your 10 years starts counting down. So your time in the military to pay back your scholarship goes from 4 years to 13 to 14. No big deal.
Right, yeah. You're an indentured servant, essentially, just for them to let you in on the secrets of the training and how the aircraft work and all that.
And it just takes a lot of reps to get good.
Yeah.
Years.
That might seem like, how could a fighter pilot be worth more than a $30 million aircraft? And you think, how much does it cost each time one of those planes goes in the air?
A lot.
And then you think about how many thousands of hours of practice. That's probably most of the math right there.
Yeah.
Just like if you had to look at like the DoD fuel costs in your career, it's going to be an unfathomable number.
I'm not going to do that math.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just eat because it's like 10,000 hours or whatever the number is to master something. And it's not like sitting around noodling on a guitar where the practice costs are free.
Although I would say the bulk of our learning takes place outside of the cockpit.
Yeah, sure. But I just mean to get the true flying hours each time there is a cash register going off.
It's just that gas pump, like max speed ticking up every time.
I would imagine there's basically no substitute though for in the air training. A simulator is great, but you just have to do it and do it and do it and do it.
Yeah, I would say the sim is really good for introducing new concepts and just trying those first few swings at bat where you're just horrendous and they're like, okay, you died. Let's reset and try again.
Right.
It's just free to fail over and over, and monetarily and for other reasons, right? So I think the sims were heavily used for practicing emergencies and then new concepts when you're a student, when you're young.
Right.
You don't use them that often once you're kind of in the thick of it and you're experienced, but you might go fly a 1-hour flight.
Yeah.
And there is no substitute for just the task saturation that happens airborne. There's just so many things. And the seat of the pants and 9 Gs on your body. Like we cannot simulate that. But I think the debrief portion afterwards, which might be an hour, but it might be 6 hours, depending on what the flight is, even though the flight time was only an hour. That is where your brain has the time to actually be like, oh, I jacked that up and here's why. So we always say like the flying portion, of course, is essential, but that debrief period and how that's handled and how mistakes are addressed is where the actual learning happens.
Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, you might go, okay, they flew 1,000 hours in this plane or that plane, but there's an hour of prep and then an hour, and then there's the walk around, and then there's the taxi, and there's all the other, and then there's the debrief, and then there's just the time you spent as you were walking home later thinking about it. It's all of that is accumulating as the reps and the experience and just the sheer amount of cognitive and physical resources put towards getting good at a thing.
I don't think there's enough resources to get good just based on time in the actual cockpit.
Yeah.
It's like in training, I came into that program with a 0 flight experience. I had never piloted even like a Cessna.
Right.
So they're just like, this is how you talk on the radio. And it's like you push the button and I'm like, like radio on, brain off. It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
Everything is so overwhelming. And so for me, simulators were key. But we also really rely on something called chair flying, which is just sitting and visualizing.
Right.
And so when you're really new, I literally had a cockpit poster of the aircraft in my office at home. I would sit in a desk chair and I'd be like, this is when I'm going to say this. I'm going to reach for this switch. I'm going to look here and do this. And I would just do reps.
Right.
And I don't think I would have made it through the program if I hadn't done that.
Right. Yeah. It's like for a comedian, obviously you have to get up and go on stage. There's no substitute for that. But if you're not walking around going over the things in your mind over and over and over again, no one's going to give you enough time or opportunity to be bad,
right,
to get what you need.
And the repercussions of being bad are high.
Well, yeah, and the entitlement of just like, oh, I'll work it out on stage or I'll figure this out in the air. You know, like, again, you're incurring a bill. There's a cost to it. And so you do have to sort of walk through that stuff. Yeah. I think about, like, as a writer, like, how many books are you going to write in your life? Probably not very many. And so if the only place you're getting practice is in published books, you're doing a lot of learning when you should be at your best, right? You have to be writing other things. You have to be finding other ways to get analogous reps.
For sure. For sure.
So are you like an adrenaline junkie? I think people probably think pilots are just like not afraid. They love the rush of it, and that's what makes them good at it.
I think when I was young, yes. I'm 38 now, and my risk assessment has drastically changed. Like now that I'm not in the Air Force anymore, I get asked to fly with friends who have different airplanes all the time. And if it's a person I don't know that well, it's some like old Soviet jet that's been rebuilt, I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to crash in that after all the stuff. I would be very disappointed in myself. But I still love roller coasters. I would go skydiving again in a heartbeat. I've done it once. I think those things feel very safe. It's like, it's a free adrenaline rush.
Man, I have been feeling my age lately. Part of that is just the schedule, but part of it, I think, is getting older. But feeling older is actually optional. And that's where today's sponsor comes in. Qualia's Senolytics is a first-of-its-kind formula designed to help your body eliminate senescent cells. Because a big culprit behind that sort of middle-aged feeling is senescent cells. They call them zombie cells. The accumulation of zombie cells can mean less energy, slower workout recovery, joint discomfort. Qualia's Senolytics is a groundbreaking, clinically tested supplement with 9 vegan, plant-derived compounds to help your body eliminate those zombie cells. So if you want to experience feeling younger, just go to qualialife.com/dailystoic for up to 50% off your purchase and use code DailyStoic for an extra 15% off. That's qualialife.com. I'll link to it below /DailyStoic for an extra 15% off your purchase, and your older self will thank you. And thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. You only had to skydive once? They don't make you practice it over and over again?
No, so
really?
We don't. We do some other stuff. We like get towed behind a boat and do like parasailing, and we disconnect from the boat to practice like landing in water, being in the water weighed down with gear under a parachute. So that's kind of slightly stressful, but sort of fun. Down in Pensacola, we do that. We do some other stuff where we like jump off of little towers just to practice the landing.
I did the tower jump once at Benning or Bragg or something. And to go to your point about like, there's other ways to get the practice. You realize like, there's just like a magical distance that above this distance, humans don't like jumping. You know, like as soon as you can imagine yourself dying from the thing, your body's like, nope. And so you really just like, you don't have to fly all the way up in the air and practice jumping out of a plane over and over again. You can just jump 50 feet off the ground a lot of times.
For sure. And it's really the decision to pull the ejection handle that you need to like be clear on. Because
that's going to be, you could break your arms and legs just from that.
Yeah. And like once you pull that, you're just along for the ride. Yes. Everything else is automated, right? You're going, the airplane's going, it's a shock. People pass out, people break arms. Like you said, I get asked so many times in Q&A on stage, have you ever ejected? I'm like, no, I think you would know. Like, it's just not a common thing.
Yes. Right. I mean, that's a $30 million decision or whatever.
And your body is permanently damaged from it.
Yeah, because it's the worst case scenario. They're not like, how do we make this comfortable for the person?
No, it's that or die. So
yes. Every other thing has already been tried and is impossible. And 100%. Now you're doing that.
But to answer your previous question, have you ever been skydiving or bungee jumping?
I hate heights and I don't like being scared.
So I'll take this. So I kind of enjoy being a little bit scared. Yeah. Skydiving, I had no problem with because I feel like when you're that high, you don't have that instinct of like, oh my gosh, if I jump out of this, I'm going to smash into the ground.
Sure.
And then I went bungee jumping. It was actually here in Texas, and it was a short bungee jump at like a fair.
Yeah.
It was like 70 feet tall.
Right. Probably more dangerous than most of the other things you've done because it's some carny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably my worst risk assessment of my life. I should have gone off of like a bridge in New Zealand. Yes. Way safer.
Right.
And I just got stuck on the edge and I was like, I can't. Right. And I finally did.
Yeah.
But that was way scarier than jumping out of an airplane.
Interesting. Is it scary to fly a fighter jet?
No. Most of the time, no. You definitely are very focused and like heightened stress level, especially when you're inexperienced. And as those reps get in, it gets more and more comfortable with anything.
Yeah.
But there are, honestly, when I talk about deployment flights, 4 to 6 hours apiece, a lot of boredom interjected with extreme stress for a very short amount of time.
Right.
And that's the same whether you're flying a training flight, whether it's flying for the Thunderbirds. It becomes routine.
Yeah.
Until all of a sudden it's not.
Right.
And you never know when that's going to happen. And when it does happen, you have to be ready to respond to it and not let your adrenaline sideline you.
Yeah, it's like I think it's handling those moments of of sheer terror, not like this sort of low existential fear. It's just like this moment of holy shit, what's happening right now?
Yes.
And I imagine the sort of lull, the boredom lulls you into a place where that almost feels, there's a contrast there. You're not at that stress level the whole time, and then you kind of, you're bored.
Yeah. I talk about the Yerkes-Dodson curve, where it's like, as you move right on the chart, it's higher levels of stress. They call it arousal, but everyone misconstrues that for what it is. Word, yeah. And then on the left side, performance goes up, right? So far left corner where the curve is at its lowest, it's boredom, it's complacency, it's disengagement. And then as you move right on the stress level, you get to a point in the bell curve where performance is maximized.
Yeah.
Because you're focused, you're in that flow state, you're engaged, you're aware of information coming in, you're able to process it. And then you get to fall off the backside of that curve as stress increases and you get into like the overwhelm. We call it a helmet fire.
Oh.
It's obviously your helmet's not literally on fire, but when you're a student, you're constantly being like, oh, they had a helmet fire. If smoke could come out my ears, it would be.
Right.
Like I'm not listening to radio calls. I'm not responding because I'm just overwhelmed.
Yeah, there's that sort of sweet spot because if you're not nervous, you're probably not taking it seriously.
Yeah, you should.
But if you're too nervous, you're also not taking it seriously because you're caught up in your feelings about whatever the thing is, most of which is probably all in your head.
Sometimes it's real in the chat, but yes, a lot of times you blow it out of proportion. I mean, you hamstring your own ability to keep it from becoming a catastrophic thing.
Yeah.
Because you're stressed about it becoming a catastrophic thing.
So people probably assume fighter pilots are not afraid, and then I would assume they would assume that they are egomaniacs. Those are the sort of two stereotypes of the fighter pilot. How true are either of those?
I think we can thank Tom Cruise for that. Partially true for both, I would say. I think you get to the point where it becomes your routine job and fear is not something you think about on a regular basis until something unexpected happens. Early on, you just do it scared.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially, first flight in combat. Learning to fly for the Thunderbirds, flying super close to the ground, upside down, super close to another jet. Like, we don't do that in the combat Air Force. And one of the things we always say is you have to kill your survival instinct.
Yeah.
Because your body you're like, oh, get away from me. I don't want to be that close to another airplane.
Sure.
Or as a solo pilot, I did those head-on passes. Looks like a game of chicken. Like, we're each going 500 miles an hour and we pass like 50 to 70 feet apart. Wow.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
No.
So you have to transcend something.
Yes. Even in a training scenario, dogfighting training, we have a 500-foot training bubble.
Right.
So to get to like 50 feet when you're head on each other, you're just like, I can't do it. And it's really difficult to overcome that. So fear is a thing, but it's generally people they're able to compartmentalize it.
Yeah.
And they do it anyway. They do it scared. And egos, when you're young, I think they're more of a factor. My first squadron, there was a lot of jockeying for position with the young pilots, the lieutenants, the captains. You're friends with everyone.
Yeah.
Like, you trust that person with your life, super tight knit, but you're also very aware of how everyone's doing.
Yeah.
You don't want to be made to look bad. And I think a lot of it is like, you feel like you're really establishing your reputation in this career field you're going to be in for a decade.
Yeah.
And you don't want to look incompetent.
Right.
And for me, for a long time, I thought I was like too humble. Like, I wasn't boisterous. I wasn't loud. I wasn't type A. And I felt like I had a hard time fitting in that culture.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I realized that my ego was actually getting in the way because I saw asking questions, asking for help, letting people know I was struggling with a concept in the airplane as weakness.
Yeah.
And I felt like I could not show weakness in that environment.
Yeah, there's an ego, people don't think about it this way, but there's an ego even in that kind of imposter syndrome or that sort of wallflowerness where you just think people are thinking about you way more than they are.
Yes.
And that these things say more about you than they do. And so, yeah, because you don't want to look stupid, you'll stay stupid. Or because you don't want to ask for help, you don't get help.
Yep.
Or you don't want to look like you want it too badly, so you don't get it. It's this weird thing where, the person who needs to be the center of attention, they make everything about them. That's a very obvious and harmful form of ego. But then we have this other form of ego that maybe we convince ourselves is humility or self-awareness or something, but it's actually just a similar self-absorption.
Yeah. My whole world revolved around me in that I felt like everyone was watching every little thing that I did. And so I was hyper vigilant about how I reacted to people's comment. And part of this, I don't think you can not talk about gender being layered in there, right? I'm like one of 2 women in a squadron of 50 pilots.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like nuances of, oh, they said an inappropriate joke. Everyone looks at me and waits for my reaction.
Yeah.
And I felt the responsibility of that. And also, if I'm bad at something, now there's a stereotype that female fighter pilots are bad at this thing. I'm a data point of 1. And so I felt that extra pressure. And so I think it took, you know, a normal level of self-doubt when you go into a career field that just takes years to get good at.
Yeah.
It's hard. Everyone sucks at first.
Sure.
And I know objectively that the other new wingmen were bad as well.
Yeah. It's not like they grew up as fighter pilots.
Right.
Right. Like everyone is starting from scratch.
100%. And I think I could accept that, but then that added pressure made me go from normal level of doubt to just like almost crippling imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I would think about it constantly. And it was like a low level of anxiety.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I should have said I liked fantasy football. Like, they're never going to accept me.
You're just spending too much time thinking about what other people are thinking. And you don't realize that the cost of that is thinking about things that you actually have some semblance of control over or would make a difference. You're just like, what are the critics going to say? How's this going to go? Do they like me? Did that come off weird? And what you're not thinking about is like flight schematics or whatever.
It's a massive distraction.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a bad use of your limited resources.
Yes.
The problem is like fearlessness and then you would say ego. Both of them are somewhat adaptive at the beginning of things because ego makes you go out for things that you have no business going out for. Yep. It's like alcohol, and that alcohol can get rid of self-consciousness or, you know, things that other people are thinking about. And then fearlessness, same thing. Like you're not afraid of things that you should be afraid of. And so in the beginning, it's an advantage, or at least it's not as costly as it becomes later.
Yep.
But it's a real bad habit to pick up in both cases, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, not being afraid of things you should be afraid of.
Yeah, right.
Like, you will not be an old fighter pilot with that mentality.
Right. Yeah, or not listening, thinking that the rules don't apply to you, thinking that you're God's gift to humanity. Again, especially when you're having to stand out in a field, you know, or you're having to get past a lot of reservations or resistance, all that can kind of work to your advantage. And then you get there and now you're an asshole, or, you know, now you think you're exempt, or you've made a bunch of enemies, or again, you've picked up really bad habits and you don't have the kind of sound fundamentals, which should be like self-awareness, empathy, etc. You know, a sense of caution and prudence. And now, even though it got you where you wanted, whether it's a fighter pilot or a record deal or a successful business, the irony is it gets you what you want. And now the stakes are much higher. So you're going to be learning these painful lessons, like the cost of fearlessness or ego. And now you're doing it in the air instead of in a simulator, or you're doing it with something to lose, like all that you've built. And that's why they say pride goeth before the fall. At what level do you want that fall to happen? Do you want it, like, at what height do you want to fall from?
I think our safety net for that, because what got you there, if you are very overly confident, if you are Hangman from Top Gun Maverick, that can get you places initially. Yeah. But that debrief at the end of the flight and the way that's structured and the humility required in there, like every little thing you did wrong in the air is picked apart. Yeah. And not in like this ridicule, shame you way, but in like, okay, you were late to that. Why were you late? What were you thinking about? Did you have the wrong information, or did you have the right information to make a wrong decision? Like, we just peel back the things until we're like, oh, here's the root cause of why we failed at our mission. Yeah. And no one is spared from being criticized.
And the other thing you don't realize is like the people who have been around and done it a long time, they've seen you before. They've seen this kid 100%. Before. And like at some level, they want to help you and they want to warn you and they want to go. But on the other hand, like, they're willing to use you and those traits for the time being, right? And they don't, like, they know it's going to end badly for you, but it's not their job to fix you as a human being necessarily, right? And so I think a lot of young people have, like, sort of promising, you know, like, up and comers in all different fields. They don't understand the way in which, like, it's going to work for them as long as it works for someone else, for the system. Yeah. And then as soon as that stops, they will chew you up and spit you out, or that you'll burn out. And, like, they've seen this before. You're not as special as you think you are. Yeah. And it's a tale as old as time.
And we actually have language in our grade sheets. Like, when you're an instructor and you're teaching someone new and they're just pushing back, you're like, hey, you didn't do this like you were supposed to. What happened? And they will come up with excuses, not reasons, but excuses, right? Mm-hmm. They won't take ownership of it. They won't walk away with, okay, next time I'm going to do this better. Yeah. It's just failure to take instruction. Yeah. And people can get kicked out of programs or even out of the jet and move to a different career field if they just continue to, because it's dangerous.
Yeah. Or you kind of see, like, okay, this person's extremely talented, but there's a ceiling. Mm-hmm. Like, they can make it to here because those traits that they have are, although not super desirable, they don't matter until this level. Yep. And you don't realize that you're kind of bumping up against some kind of ceiling. Like, they've spotted you, they've seen this story before. They know that until you deal with this thing, whether it's a sort of over aggressiveness or it's ego or competitiveness or whatever, they're just like, that this person's good enough to get here. And then it's actually this sort of, you know, it's like a tortoise and the hare situation. Now, this person actually isn't as flashy or special, but, like, they have the real potential to go the full distance because they don't have these sort of limitations.
For sure. And I think for me, I got in my own way the opposite direction. It was like lack of belief in myself, where I had some amazing mentors that were like, no, you're doing great. And I would always be shocked when I got that feedback. Yes. My first assignment in a combat squadron was in northern Japan, Misawa, Japan. So your squadron is your whole life. I don't speak Japanese. I can't, like, make friends in the local community. It is just work hard, play hard, 12 to 15 hour days, high operations tempo. And I'm going through all the stuff I already talked about, like self-doubt, imposter syndrome, trying to establish my footing in this career. And I just remember constantly thinking that I was a little bit behind. Like, everyone was a little bit better than me. And there was an instructor that I really respected who was, I think, a full assignment older than I was, and he was about to move to his next base. And I was starting my upgrade to become a flight lead, where I can lead 4 jets into a combat situation. On his way out, he's like, hey, Mace, I'm super bummed I'm not going to be around to be an instructor for this, because you'd be fun to teach because you're really good. Yeah. And I was like, what are you talking? Like, I didn't even, I respected him so much, but in that moment I was like, you're full of shit.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. You can't, sometimes, again, you think it's humility, but that inability to take a compliment, which isn't so much a compliment, it's just a fact. And so you're in this, again, in the way that ego distorts and denies reality, you know, sometimes that sort of egotistical humility is also denying a reality. It's like, the people have spoken, the facts are in, like, you are good at this. You would not be here. We would not have chosen you, even, you know, all that. And then you can't hear it because you have, it's the same thing that's preventing that egotistical person from hearing, like, no, it sucks. It's not good. You're like, you have to fix it. The person who's going, it sucks. It's not good. And people are like, what are you talking about? People love this. It just sold 1 million copies. What are you talking about? It's the same kind of denial of reality. It's like, horseshoe theory, like at the extreme ends. Yeah, you don't want to be there. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing.
And I think a huge leap forward in that was just gaining that perspective. Yeah. Like, I didn't have the solution to fix it, but when I was able to, like, just zoom out and be like, okay, wait a minute. My thoughts don't actually always equal reality. Yes. And I shouldn't just take them at face value despite contradictory evidence from all of these people I respect, or just, like, objective evidence. I think so low of myself, but I believe myself just no matter what comes in to confront it when it comes to this thing. That just doesn't logically make sense.
Well, that's the problem, I think, with belief, right? Like, belief is, we might say, sort of faith without evidence, right? And like believing in yourself that's a tricky currency. Like, I've said before, like, I don't believe myself, I have evidence. right? Like if you believed in yourself from the beginning, there's something fundamentally irrational about that, because like what evidence did you have to believe in yourself, right? Like how did you know you could do this impossible thing? And the answer is you didn't know. But you had evidence at these smaller junctures that you could do these like component tasks. That's actually what it is. And the ability to sit down and go, hey, like these are my strengths. These are my weaknesses, which to me is a better definition of confidence. Like confidence is knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not so good at, and then knowing what you're trying to do and where those things all fit together, as opposed to ego, which is just like, I'm amazing. You know, confidence is based on the evidence of what you've done, the traits that you bring to the table, and an understanding of what is required in the task that you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. I think it gets into the self-efficacy of being able to actually make the thing happen.
Yes.
And confidence is very similar.
Yeah.
But actually having done it and prove to yourself that you are capable, even if it's at a smaller level.
Yeah.
It's like stepping stones, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the most powerful. But there's another piece of that's seeing someone else you identify with do it successfully.
Yes.
That can give you a lot of self-efficacy and improve your chances of the same result, which goes back to what we talked about earlier. Just like seeing someone succeed at the thing that seems impossible gives you, I don't know if we want to call it belief, gives you confidence that you can do it as well.
Well, do you know Aristotle's concept of the golden mean?
No.
So the golden mean is that all virtues sit between two vices. So like courage is not the opposite of cowardice. It's in the middle between recklessness and cowardice.
Yep.
And so I think there's something about confidence that sits between that sort of ego that we all recognize as the obvious ego, the sort of narcissistic, better than everyone ego, and then the sort of the quiet, well, I don't want to ask because I'll look stupid, or, you know, the game is rigged against me. Imposter syndrome ego, which we don't typically think of as ego, but I think those are the two vices, and then confidence is somewhere in the middle of those two extremes.
100%. And I have a little story from In the Jet that actually is how I got my call sign. Which call signs come from a mistake you made.
Yes.
Everyone thinks you get to pick them, like Maverick's like, that sounds cool. Let me be Maverick.
It's like soup, because you ate a lot of soup one night.
Yeah, sometimes they're as benign as that. Mine is like a kind of a cool flying story, but essentially second flight in Japan, mock dogfighting. So dogfighting training, obviously safe guns. We're not actually shooting bullets at our instructors. So my instructor and I going up, and I'm supposed to point at him, shoot him with the gun, call the kill, celebrate, all the things, right? And I really want to do well because I'm so worried about what everyone thinks of me. So I light the afterburner, wait a few seconds, roll, pull back on the stick. The F-16 pulls 9 Gs, no problem. So 9 times the force of gravity. So I am experiencing that, which very easy to go unconscious from that. G-induced loss of consciousness, blood gets forced out of your head. So I am doing that. I'm just pulling and pulling and not able to point at him. And my experienced self later, or logically, would be like, oh, so I need to change what I'm doing to adjust. Something's not right. I've done this like twice before in training. I'm just super young. But my ego is like, you must win. You must gun him. And I just keep pulling and I'm not giving up, and I don't touch my throttle. So just max AB, and I get to full light loss. So I am just blacked out as far as seeing nothing. But I am not quite G-locked. I'm not quite unconscious because I can still hear. And my instructor ends up making a radio call to knock the fight off because he's like, something's not right. And so I was pushing that so far where I was like, the closest I've ever been to G-locking in my whole life. If you G-lock in a single seat aircraft, people have hit the ground and died. Like it is the highest repercussion. This is a training flight, my second one ever in my new squadron. There was zero reason for me to push it that far. But I was so worried about failing that was more important to me than my physical safety. It like so illogical.
It's insane. But that's the appearances mattering more than reality. And then the irony, of course, is that you did look really stupid. right? Like,
yes,
like
100%.
everyone is you're afraid of being judged, and you end up doing this thing that causes you to be judged so much more.
Yes,
and that your call sign, even that your call sign comes from it.
Yeah, and so people ask otherwise. I accidentally went supersonic when I first lit the afterburner before I rolled and pulled, which is why I could pull so many G's for so long and why I could never shoot my instructor, because I couldn't turn tight enough.
Yeah.
Imagine you're driving 60 miles an hour and you need to be driving 30 to make the turn.
Yeah.
That was essentially me. And so they named me mock at circle entry, which is just the turn circle entry for dogfight. It gets into pilot jargon, but people are always like, how'd you get your call sign? Did you pepper spray a guy in a bar?
Yeah.
I'm like, not yet.
But yeah, like this thing where you were like, well, I don't want to look bad in this one single encounter.
Yeah.
Now follows you literally your entire career. And
beyond.
that's what we can't really think about in the moment.
For sure.
It's funny too, you talked about asking for help. There's something about that too, where it's like when other people ask us for help, we're like, oh, here, let me help you. We're not like, what a fucking moron, a loser, right? Like we're actually like excited, or it doesn't even register. And then the next day we're like, well, if I ask for help, it's so crazy. Like the thing we get in our head about it, and then even though we have objective evidence that no one cares.
Yeah.
There's actually a famous Marcus Aurelius quote where he says, we're like soldiers storming a wall. He says, you've fallen and you have to ask a comrade for help. So what? Yeah. And I love the so what of it, because it really does pierce this kind of insane chain of assumptions we make up in our head. Where like, if you're all storming a wall and someone falls, you're not like, I told you not to do, like,
you idiot.
Yeah, that's not occurring to anyone. Yeah. And in fact, they're like, there's something beautiful about being able to help that person. Mm-hmm. And yet we're so reluctant to possibly ask for the help that we need to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. When my son, he plays baseball, and when he first started pitching as like a 9-10-year-old, he would cry on the mound because he was so nervous. Everyone's watching the pitcher. Yeah. So if he messed up a little bit, he was just devastated. And we would ask him why. And he's like, well, everyone's judging. Everyone's, thinks I'm bad at baseball. Yeah. And I'm like, when your other friend that pitches has a bad inning, what do you think about him? And he was like, nothing.
Well, and then it's like, by the way, bro, you're crying on the mound. If you want, like, that's very much less conspicuous or more conspicuous than whatever you're trying to avoid.
100%.
I deal with this all the time with people where it's like, hey, I need to see this by like Tuesday. And then the person doesn't deliver it on Tuesday, and you're like, where is that? You're bothering. And then they're like, well, I wanted it to be perfect, or I didn't want to upset you. And it's like, you upset me by delivering it on Thursday. Like if it was not if you had told me on Monday that you were having trouble, there would have been no issue. If you delivered it if you delivered it imperfectly on Tuesday, I would have worked with that. Instead, now I've spent a bunch of resources and time trying to get this thing from you. So I'm already upset with you. And then it's blown the whole schedule. Like we take a situation that would be nothing and we turn it into a something that's much worse than whatever it is that we're trying to avoid. Like how often perfectionism really is just a form of procrastination.
Perfect. Enemy of good.
Yes. So what are the 5 inner critics?
Yeah. So when I was thinking about just my own experiences and that voice in my head that got in my way, I realized it looked different and sounded different at different points.
Sure.
And the most primal one is the fear critic.
Yes.
Right. This is the bungee jumping one.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you step off this platform, you're dead.
Yeah.
So we go back to
what might happen.
Right. We're avoiding the saber-toothed tiger, all the things, all of that primal brain. So that's the most obvious one. The second one is the comfort critic. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us struggle with this right now because everything is so comfortable.
Sure.
Netflix, Uber Eats. Like, I don't need to leave my house. I can have all Amazon's going to deliver that in 3 hours. Yeah. And so it's this resistance to this feels really comfortable. Why would I step outside of that?
Sure.
And we have a hard time having perspective on all the things that we're missing out on by staying on our couch.
It's good to do hard things, but hard things are uncomfortable.
They're hard.
Yeah.
Right. The friend critic. And that is like, you want to be liked. This is like your best friend in 6th grade is the analogy I always use. You don't want to do anything to rock that boat.
Yeah.
You want to fit in, which goes heavily with the reputation critic, which is the next one. And that is just this tribal idea, right? Yeah. Like if I do this, people are going to reject me from their tribe.
Right.
And I feel that now having left the Air Force and having left being a fighter pilot, but still wanting to be part of the fighter pilot tribe.
Yeah.
And telling my story. And then when I still find myself being very like hyper aware of how my community, not like an individual person, it's just this faceless entity, might feel about that.
Yeah. Are they going to judge me for standing out too much or for disagreeing with them or all that?
Yeah. And then the last one's the wrong critic. And I feel like right now with just how contentious everything is, I know I am often afraid to speak my mind because if I can't back it up like a thesis, I'm like, I'm going to look dumb because I might be wrong. Like I might have the general idea right.
Yes.
But if I say, oh, well, this is 70% of this and it's actually 65%, I'm going to look like an idiot.
Sure. Yeah. The getting attacked over details or you make a mistake or whatever. It's just easier to not stand out.
100%. And so I've done a bunch of workshops on those, and I found that labeling them helps people identify them.
Like, which one am I experiencing right now?
Yep, it gives them that perspective.
And then how do you silence that critic, or what do you...
It's not necessarily silencing it, because I think that can be very difficult to do. I imagine even you at the level you're at, you still have like a new book coming out, and you still have those moments of doubt, those voices, the critics, all the things. But it's just gaining that perspective, giving you the ability to take it or leave it and be like, this isn't me, this isn't fact. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, my thoughts are not 100% fact.
Yes.
Let's zoom out. Let's look for some objective evidence if that's true or not. It also gives you a chance to bring in someone else to help you, right? To talk about it with a mentor or your spouse or whoever it is, or journal about it. And I think getting it out of your head, whether that's vocally or writing it down, often it's just like flipping this light on and you're like, oh, that's not a monster in the corner. It's a dirty pile of laundry.
Yes.
And it takes the power away.
The hard thing about criticism is like nobody would get where they ended up if they listened to criticism.
Right.
And so this goes to the idea of ego is like you got there ignoring the doubters, ignoring the people who said you were too tall or not the right gender or, all the different things, right? And then you get to a place of success or achievement, and suddenly being able to parse criticism is actually like super important. And so this ability to tune it out sometimes and really listen to it other times, or to know, like as a writer, like the difference between, reading what people write about you after the book is out and then being able to take notes. But prior to that, being able to take notes from people you admire, or to hear things that, like the hardest criticism to take is when someone is criticizing something you really like in a book, like something, that's the best part, and or when you're hearing something and you go, I think you're right, but if you're right, it means I have to do all of these things. So that's like the comfort when you're talking about where you're like, I have two options here. I can go do this unpleasant work, or I can just tell myself that you're wrong, And so being able to know which criticism to listen to, especially when I would say on the whole, most criticism is not correct.
Yes.
That's the whole ball game right there.
And that has been I've been, doing what I'm doing now is writing and speaking and stuff, and very visible on social media for the last 3 years. And I would say I get asked about how I manage that a lot, and I don't have the best answer for people because I don't do it perfectly.
I don't think anyone has a good answer.
Right? Like objectively, I know this random person, whether they're a fake account that's like got 5 followers, or a lot of them are veterans, like an older generation of veterans. So I inherently have some respect for them, and they have some credibility that Joe Schmo, who has never done what I've done, doesn't have.
Sure.
And it will stick with me. It will live like rent free in my head for the whole day. And then I get mad at myself that I'm letting them impact me like that. And I'm like, you should just block that person and move on with your life. I know that objectively, right? I should be stoic. I should choose to not be annoyed by this, or I should choose, but it is difficult to execute.
Yeah. Marcus Aurelius' line is, we all love ourselves more than other people, but we care about their opinions more than our own.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know about this because it's my thing. And yet I'm letting some other person tell me whether I did it or not, what's true or not. Yeah. And then it's like, I wouldn't listen to this person about literally anything else. But because they're talking about me, I think we're in some cases so desperate for feedback that we'd rather just mainline shit from people we don't respect than just sort of sit with the unknowingness of just like, hey, I'm pretty sure I did this right, but I'll never know.
Yeah. And I've gotten a little bit more acceptance that I will not please everyone. Mm-hmm. And I've come to be like, okay, you can have that opinion. You're not my target audience.
Yes. Okay. So there's no one who's ever batted 100%, right? Like even the most successful people have not just like a percentage of the audience that doesn't like them, but the bigger you are, the larger, not just the larger the percent might be, but the sheer amount of people that like, you think about if something sells 1 million copies and 10% of people who read it don't like it or listen to it don't like it. That's 100,000 people who hate something. Yeah, that's right. That's a lot of people. That's like how many people are in one of those stadiums you fly over. Sometimes you visualize that, you're like, fuck, there's 100,000 people who think I suck, right? Yeah. And to sit with that is really uncomfortable and unpleasant. But to be able to put it in statistics is also helpful, right? The Stoics talk about like, look, is it possible to go through life and never meet like shitty people? No. Right? Certain percentage of the population sucks. Yeah. And so you're like, oh, I just met one of those people. 20% of the population is X. Okay, so 1 in 5 people is going to be one. Why am I going around surprised that I'm encountering people who suck? Like it's a statistical certainty. And the same is true for the work you're doing. It's like, hey, like I took a stand on this. What are the chances that 100% of the people agree with this stand? Zero. No, it's like just the country is divided this percentage and this percentage. So before people even really think about it, this percentage of people just on their face disagree with it. And then you go, okay, that's a lot of people. And then you have to go, do I have the fortitude to sit with the fact that this percentage of people or this sheer number of people hate my guts now or, dislike me now or disagree with me now. Like, that's just how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think focusing on the fact that every time that I say something or do something that happens, I get that feedback a little bit. I'm like, this is like when I lift weights and my body fat goes down, but my number on the scale stays the same. I'm like recomping my audience.
Yes.
I'm like, these are the people that need the message because it brings in some people too.
Sure.
And even if that's less people than I lose, I would rather have 50,000 people who are very on board and like dive deep than 200,000 people that are just kind of like, cool jets.
Well, do you have an audience or does the audience have you? Yeah. And it is interesting to me when you watch people who they were fighter pilots or they did this thing that was so scary and dangerous. And then they get into another line of work, whether it's politics or writing or commentary or just anything that's like just more public facing. Mm-hmm. And then they're just like terrified of being disliked. Yeah. You're like, what? You were okay being shot at, but you don't want to get angry calls from your constituents. In a way, the sort of physical courage can be easier than the moral courage or just by the same token, the people who might have an immense amount of moral courage or, don't like jumping in cold water because it's uncomfortable. Like we're not logical in our abilities to like sort of handle one form of discomfort or scariness and not another. But there is something kind of crazy about that.
Yeah. And I think people, when I was flying for the Thunderbirds, people would be like, you're so brave. I could never do that. And I'd be like, what a weird thing to say to me. I'm not brave. Like I've had so much self-doubt. I've had so many moments of fear. I just forge ahead anyway. And it was never about what they thought I was being brave for. The physical danger of the maneuvers was not the problem.
But it's interesting you said that because that is the definition of bravery though. Like if you're not afraid.
Then it's not brave.
Yeah. And like if there was some pill you could give someone and it just suppresses all fear and doubt. First off, you wouldn't do that. It would become extremely dangerous, right? And that's why recklessness is the sort of vice that Aristotle holds up as the extreme end and that golden mean. But it's also like it would make the thing less impressive in a way, just in the sense that in the same way that steroids make the accomplishment less impressive. Right. Because you're like, oh, it's not really you. I mean, there's part of you in there, but it changes how we understand what you really did.
For sure. And that's what makes it impressive, right?
Yes.
If we were just fearless and not in danger and not afraid of that at all.
Yes.
Like anyone would do it.
Yeah, if you're not getting over something, it could still be impressive. It's just we're just not talking about courage as the virtue that's there. Maybe it's discipline or some other thing. Right. You're doing something that's hard. That's no question, but it's just, you're not being brave. It's only because it's scary to you and you don't know. Like if someone could say, hey, the outcome is a foregone conclusion, you are definitely going to succeed. Well, like obviously a lot more people would do it, for sure. But then also doing it wouldn't be impressive in the same way. And it wouldn't require courage as we understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
And that's a hard thing to remember while you're doing it. Mm-hmm. Like when it's really fucking hard to go like, oh, this is keeping people out. But it is like if there wasn't this sort of trough of despair in the middle, if there wasn't this valley that you had to go through, then everyone would do it because the rewards are obvious. Like why people would want to be on the other side of it, it's very clear. It's just when you get in the shit of it that you can lose your bearings there. And so what those difficulties do is separate the people who really want it from the people who just kind of think it would be nice to have.
For sure. And I think it's one of those careers that people think is sexy. Again, not to reference Top Gun for the third time, but that is such a pop culture phenom that it has like informed a lot of people's reality of the fighter pilot culture. So much of the job is so unsexy, right? It is stuck in a tiny cockpit for 8 hours and going to the bathroom in there and sometimes messing that up. And like, where do I put my snacks to not have those two things overlap? And like, it's just that kind of stuff. And it's like sleep deprivation and sun's in your eye and trying to air refuel. And it's hard in the skill set, but it's also a grind just in like the work that has to happen. It's behind the
bureaucratic
scenes.
Shit and the fact that not everyone's nice and that you're not paid that much. Like there's if it was all green lights, everyone would do it. It's the point is there's a bunch of red lights and detours and obstacles, and that's why not that many people make it all the way there.
I always laugh when people are like, what's like the behind the scenes of being a Thunderbird pilot? Because they see very tight flight suit, aviators, locked in, precision. And I'm like, the number of interviews I did for local media where you fly across country. So you fly 4 or 5 hour flight. You land from Las Vegas to Florida. Yeah. You get out and there's like local ABC station there or whatever. It's like, tell us about the air show. And I'm standing there talking on camera. And I'm not going to turn around because I've had a piddle pack mishap halfway there. And I'm a 35-year-old expert in my field on this pedestal that has pee pants.
Yes.
I always think of like Adam Sandler, like all the cool kids pee their pants. I'm just like, if they only knew. If
the practice was fun, more people would do it. Yeah. Right? Like game day, you get the rush.
For sure.
Why people want to be a professional athlete or whatever. But it's all the parts that are not fun that you have to, in a way, learn to love and enjoy. Otherwise, you just won't do it. Like the amount of shit you have to go through to be in the position to do the fun part. Yeah. That's I think the ratio of it that people don't really understand. Like publishing a book is pretty fun. Yeah. But writing is not that fun. Having written is great, but it actually is fun to me. Like I've had to get to a place where that I understand that's it. That's the part of it that I control. That's the part of it that's not going away. That's the part of it that, separates the amateurs from the I have to go like, no. I like writing books, not having books. I like writing books. I don't like being an author is actually now like my least favorite part. I like doing the thing. And the more you like doing the thing, the more you're going to fucking do the thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's why most authors don't have, 14, 50? How many books do you have? That's a lot.
I don't know.
Because you enjoy it.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time doing the thing. Yeah. And then like when people ask you, when people ask for shortcuts, like there's this famous story, a samurai wants to attach himself to this famous master and he says, how long does it take? And he says, it takes 10 years. And he goes, no, I'm going to like work really hard. I want to do it like, I'm really excited about this. And he goes like, okay, 20 years. And I was like, what? No, you don't understand. And he's like, I got to get this done now. And he's like, okay, 30 years. And the point is like, if you're trying to rush through it, you're missing the whole point. Like whenever people are like, do you have any tips for speed reading? And it's like, no, the point is that it takes a long time and you do a lot of it.
Yeah.
That you're looking for the shortcut is what is going to make it take a long time for you.
Yeah. No, some of it is just lived experience too.
Yeah.
It's the reps.
Yeah. Like I remember on my first book, I had this like list of media that I wanted to do, and the publicist got 0 of it,
yeah.
you know? And, 15 years later, I've done all of those things, but most of them happened like somewhat recently. And it occurred to me that if I'd gotten it when I wanted it,
yeah.
I would have I would have gotten the first one, fucked it up, and then gotten none of the others, right? Like it's actually much better that I didn't get the things that I wanted until I was actually ready for them. But that's so hard. Like we think we're this like once in a lifetime generational talent that should be able to skip these steps. Like just put me in, coach. And it's like, the coach is like, no, you'll be ready in 8 years. That's soul crushing. But they've seen you before. They know this. And like, that's a very hard thing to say to a 22-year-old is like, talk to me in 8 years. You're like, 8 years? I was a child 8 years previous.
Right.
Like you just can't conceive of the amount of time because you've never done anything that took that amount of time before.
Well, even now as a 38-year-old who's launching their first big book and I'm very goal driven. And so I want to make the New York Times bestseller list because who doesn't?
Sure. It's a measurable thing. So it makes sense you would go there.
Right. And I think it does have an impact on speaking, on just access to things. Like, it's a little bit of a boost for getting your message out in general. But I keep trying to tell myself that the book will have, like, I am doing everything I can to get, pre-sales and all the things you have to do, the marketing of the book. But if I don't hit the New York Times bestseller list, I still have, because of all the work I've done, thousands of people have gotten their eyes on the book that wouldn't have otherwise.
Sure.
And I have to know I did everything I could. And the impact is not contingent on that title.
No, it's definitely not.
Like that accolade.
It's a thing people tell themselves that it'll make a difference and it's positive and it'll help. It was interesting for me. So Stillness is the Key would have been my 5th book or 6th book. I didn't hit the New York Times bestseller list for a book that I wrote under my own name. I did some ghostwriting that I had, but I didn't hit the bestseller list under my own name 6 years in. Mm-hmm. But I hit like the Wall Street Journalist, which is a similar list. Yeah. But it was fascinating to me as I would, it helped me as I would go up on stage. People would introduce me as a New York Times bestselling author anyway. And I would go, oh, people don't even fucking know. Yeah. Like in my head, this distinction matters. And in my head, getting this thing would be a huge benefit to me.
Yeah.
And then you go, actually, people don't even understand. They don't even know.
True.
Like you think these things matter, and then that's just because you've never actually taken the time, not you, but all of us. We don't take our time to put ourselves actually in the shoes of the people who we think are gatekeeping in this way and what they're thinking about. And it's like, no, they don't know. They don't know the difference. They don't know how this works. They're not thinking about you at all. They're thinking, we have to get someone for this conference, and they're not like, well, this F-15 pilot is a New York Times bestselling author, and this one is not. And so which one are we going to go with? That has never happened ever. But in our head, because it's a thing that seems great, and then there's a part of the ego that wants us. And the problem is we end up spending a lot of time and energy trying to get something that if it was only upside, it'd be fine. But often we end up taking our eye off the ball to get a thing that doesn't really matter. That's really the problem. It's not that approval doesn't matter. It's that as you were seeking this person's approval, you were actually alienating these other people, or you were neglecting this other thing. That's the cost of it that we don't think enough about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've thought about that as, I hit the ground as a keynote speaker and my message really resonated well. And I got such good feedback and that grew very quickly. But my focus has shifted for the last 6 months.
Sure.
And I'm like, am I hamstringing myself for this fall, for next spring? And that's how I actually make my money for my business, right? Just trying to earn on my advance at this point.
There are way more New York Times bestselling authors than there are Thunderbird pilots. You already threaded the narrowest of needles. And then you go, but I also need this other needle that I heard other people were in. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And it's crazy how we do that to ourselves. And then, people will spend, it was the first time I hit number 1, which was with what book was it? I guess it was Stillness. So Stillness hits number 1. It's sort of a surprise, very excited. And actually, that was the first time I hit the list at all, was number 1, like 9 years into my career or something. And then like the next week, Donald Trump Jr. hit it. And then it was revealed that he had bought all of his copies. Like that the campaign had just cheated onto, and you go, oh, this thing that I thought was so valuable is a totally meaningless, rigged contest that I don't respect the person who bumped me off the list the next week. So why am I patting myself on the back for doing it?
Yeah.
And why did I spend so much time trying to do it in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's not one of those things that just happens, right? It's a lot of time and money and concentrated effort to try to make it happen.
Cost for everything.
100%. So TBD, but I get that. And I'm very much preparing myself where it's going to be okay if I will be disappointed because I'm a human.
There are some things that like it's only easy to say it doesn't matter after you've done it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it would be wonderful if someone could tell you when you were 20, hey, these things that you think are important are not important.
Of course.
And these things that you don't think are important are actually really important. And it's really not until you spend years of your life chasing the things that are unimportant and, then you achieve them and you realize, oh, it didn't do anything for me. And then meanwhile, you're neglecting these other things and then you get them or you work on them and you go, oh, this is what's actually moving me.
Right.
You just can't, it falls on deaf ears. It's just like how humans are. I think it's an evolutionary thing. Like if humans could really learn that lesson from other people's experience, we wouldn't have explored these, unknown continents or invented these things or built these business. Like our ability to deceive ourselves as a form of motivation is like obviously what keeps humanity progressing.
Yeah, some positives to it for sure.
Yes. Or just like whatever drives Elon Musk is at some primal evolutionary delusional level. If you could communicate that away, you would never have done the things,
right.
but you can't. It has to hit you. Everyone has to figure it out for themselves.
For sure. Yeah.
So what's next for you?
I get asked this all the time, and it's one of those things after coming from my whole adult life, 13 plus years, being very clear on like, this is the structure. This is when you promote. This is the path to success. I'm kind of enjoying
just being a person,
the unexpected. Like I opened my email and I'm like, oh, this cool new opportunity happened. Ryan Holiday replied to my email. Hell yeah. And I want to get this message to the right people. And I think my audience tends to bias towards guys who like airplanes.
Yeah.
Naturally. But I think I write for other women who struggle with self-doubt and are high performers and get in their own way and do all the things we just talked about. And whatever that looks like, whether that's this book that helps me do it, whether it's getting on bigger stages, whether it's a podcast or just getting that message out there to have a bigger impact. I don't know what that looks like yet.
Would you run for office?
I guess no.
Really?
Not right now.
Yeah.
Like everything I see right now in that, it feels so toxic.
I know. Isn't that the problem?
Like good people.
Yeah.
Not to say
why would you want that?
I hope I'm a good person, but like.
At least you're not. Well, yes. That it's gross to you.
Yes.
Is the problem. Even
people I agree with, I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like the game you have to play, I think like the showmanship and the facade you have to put on, that feels very inauthentic to me. And what I love about what I'm doing now is the freedom and the authenticity and the ability to speak my mind and my stories and everything just very truthfully and openly.
Yeah.
I feel like you can't do that as a politician.
Well, what's interesting, like service members are like sort of elite performers. You're a professional athlete, effectively, right? But you're like a professional lacrosse player or something. Like you're elite at the thing, but you're not. You don't actually control your destiny in the way that like someone who's making $100 million. Like you don't control where you go. You don't control where you fly. You have just this tiny little window of how you interpret the orders or execute the order. Like, and so I imagine it would be nice for the first time in your life to be like, I want to go here now.
Yes.
I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And to just be like, I'm going to decide where I live and what time I wake up. And yeah,
the freedom is the best part. And people are like, why don't you go fly for the airlines? Like the bonus is really good. Or my friend's a captain. He flies 2 trips a month and he makes $400,000 a year.
Sure.
And I'm like, it's not worth any monetary amount. Like, I make enough to be happy and do the things we want to do and travel. And like, I don't need to have a house that's 1,000 square feet bigger.
Yeah, sure.
To be a cog in a wheel. And I think people love that job, and not to hate on them because all of my friends fly for the airlines.
No.
But it just didn't feel fulfilling to me.
No, it's funny when I talk to professional athletes, like there's this line between the ones who after they retire, like enjoy their life, and then the ones who become coaches.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, the ones who just enjoy their life cannot understand, like, why would you travel 42 games a year?
Yeah.
Like, you subject yourself to the grind of it. Why, And that period of like, I'm going to do my own thing for a while would probably be nice. That's what putting in your years should allow you to do.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I realize I don't ever have like the Sunday scaries.
Oh, which is what the fuck do I have to do this week?
Yeah, Sunday night, you're like, oh man, even if I like my job and I love the people I work with, I still would have that like low level anxiety on Sunday night, just being like, tomorrow we have this flight, and am I as prepared as I should be? And like, who is my student, or vice versa? And now it's just like, oh, I get to go speak to this audience, and I get to connect with them. And every time I get to hear some really cool stories back from them. And even if it's hard and I had to change time zones and wake up at 4 a.m. for my body, there's some really like tangible reward every time. And it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Autonomy is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And
100%.
There's a lot of very powerful, successful, important people who have zero autonomy because their schedule is down to the minute.
Yep.
Or they're like, the Stoics talked a lot about this even in ancient Rome. It's like, there's this Roman general named Marius, and Seneca says, Marius commanded armies, but ambition commanded Marius. Because they can't not be, what is the next thing? What am I going to accomplish? Who am I going to be? How do I be the best of this, or make that endlessness is its own sort of form of powerlessness.
And I tend to fall into that trap, and I'm like with the book, like,
sure.
And we'll see what's next. And I think doing it and being like, this is something I want to do, and then actually making it happen.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the only book I ever write. Maybe it's the first of many. Sure. I honestly don't know.
Take it where it goes.
Yeah. And I'm just enjoying the ride and the freedom.
Good for you. You want to check out some books? I have some fighter pilot books.
Oh, yes,
okay.
I do.